Hello and welcome to Matchday Live as Oxford United take on Charlton. I'm joined by Kath Faulkner. Hello. And before we actually talk about today's game, let's start with the very sort of fresh and tragic news that Mickey Lewis has passed away. Yeah,
really sad news for everyone around the club arriving today. It was quite a sort of, everybody I spoke to said, how are you? And they were like, yeah, quite somber. So I think it's a measure of the man that everybody who met him, even the briefest of meets, really took away a huge amount from him. He was somebody who just had this zest for life, and especially for football. He would coach from 8 till 8, just loved the game, and was, we were talking earlier, and he said, like, a genuinely nice human being, football aside, just a really nice guy. And it's obviously touched a huge amount of the staff here, worked with him previously. So it's a very somber day today, I think.
Yeah, and not even just staff. Obviously, it is very sad for people who work with him day in, day out. But as a fan, I spoke to him at away games when he was setting up things, and I think speaking to relatives during his playing days was the same. If he saw any fans out and about, would talk to anyone on their level.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, it's the measure of the man. He's the sort of person, I said this earlier to Jerome Sale, if you put your hand out to shake his hand when you met him, he'd be like, nah, come on, give us a hug. Just one of those really genuine people. I think that's the best way to put it. Absolute terrier on the pitch. I tweeted earlier that one of my favourite moments from when I worked for Oxford United was during lockdown 1, and we did a series of podcasts with legends, and we did one with Mickey Lou and Jim Magilton, and it was just they're so different players, but they complemented each other so perfectly. And I think the love and affection that Jim had for the way Mickey played told you a huge amount of how important he was to that side as well. Like, he wasn't just a player who ran around and kicked people, although he did that a lot. He was very, very good at that. But he was one who protected everyone. And Jim said at one point he was my guardian angel on the pitch. And that really stuck with me. It was a really wonderful interview. So if anybody hasn't seen that, I really recommend you go back and see that in the podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. So very sad news. If you haven't heard already, Mickey Lewis has passed away. But we are previewing today.
Yes.
Where Oxford United are taking on Charlton. Have to put all of our sort of real lives out the back of our head. And let's have a look at the lineup. So back four, obviously Long's injured, but just in front of Jack Stevens, you've got Ruffles, Atkinson, Moore and Hansen. Now, we saw Hansen come on against Peterborough during the week and sort of held his own.
Yeah, I think Jamie did himself a lot of good service in that game. He was up against one of the best players in this division, in my opinion, and really did an admirable job and worked hard for that clean sheet. And the credit obviously goes to everybody in the squad. But, when you lose a player from out of the 11 who has done so well up until that point, it's really important that the player who steps into those shoes comes on. And Jamie's always a player who will work tirelessly, but I think in that game he showed a little bit more of the intelligent side of his play as well, and helped us pass out from the back when maybe he was getting boxed in a bit. It was really great to see, and that's allowed changes further forward, as I'm sure you'll get on to.
Yes, absolutely. So Gorin just in front of that, again, another one of those players who's got a lot of ability, but it isn't afraid of getting his shirt muddy.
No, absolutely. I think Alex Gorin, we've said huge amounts about him over the course of these programmes pre-match, and he's probably the protector in this squad.
And yeah, he's one of those players, much like Liam Kelly, who is just in front of him. You notice them, especially when they're not there. You notice everything that they do off the ball.
Yeah, I spoke a lot about Kells last week, I think, and things that he adds. I expect to see him as the one that plays slightly deeper. We've seen Brannigan It'll be interesting to see how Carl does set them up. We saw Brannigan in that slightly deeper role last week, but which way round they play. But both Brannigan and Kelly have that ability to drop in, pick the ball up, and really push us forwards. So it'll be interesting to see what Carl does with those two, whether they play side by side as 2/8s or whether one of them steps up into the 10.
And those two pressing a lot.
Yeah, and that was a feature of the game against Peterborough, and a hugely important one to force them into giving us the ball back. You can't let a side like Peterborough have too much possession, and that press, which I think both of us commented during the game. There's no way we can keep this tempo up, especially players like Brannigan who are coming back after long layoffs. And to their absolute credit, they did. And
both sides as well. Both were pressing really high. And then Shodipo, Ford, Adji. Again, it's going to be one of those. We've seen Ford play in every position, I think. But
come and go.
Yeah. And touch wood, we won't. And then Adji, Shodipo, between those three, if any of them are in front of goal, they're not scared to have a shot, and they're likely to get it on target.
Yeah, absolutely. And some real raw pace up there as well. A lot of people have been wanting to see Dan Adji get a chance in that centre forward role, where, his natural role. And he's really got that opportunity today. He's really strong. He's so quick. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him play with the ball at his feet today. I hope we don't pump it up to his chest. I think with the players around him, we won't see that so much. Mm-hmm. But he can do that if he needs to. But yeah, hopefully we'll see him and Shodipo running in behind. And obviously the Hampson playing so well at right back allows Ford to play in his more natural role forward, being that sort of anchor player, a bit like Henry does when he plays out for us, allows Shodipo maybe to get higher because Ford can play that cover round role.
And then just quickly on the bench, Eastwood, Hall, Taylor, Sykes, Grayson, Barker, and Leon Chambers Parallon. So good to see that name coming in because he's played a few times in the trophy.
Yes, Leon played at Walsall, I believe it was. He got the assist for I can't remember who scored.
Someone.
Brain's gone blank.
He got the assist.
Such a long time ago. But no, came on, was quite nervous before coming on, but did brilliantly. It was Del Boy, as you saw, obviously.
Oh, of course it was. Yeah.
But yeah, did really well when he came on. Very much a box-to-box sort of player, likes to get the ball, run with it. And to see a young player coming into the squad, it's what we all want, that progression again from youth into first team. Yes, it's because we're light and we've had a number of injuries, but there are players in that youth team that Carl is happy to bring in. And I think that shows it. And
we are light, and that's why he's come in. But we are light and still can have the pedigree of Eastwood, Hall, Taylor, Barker. That's some good quality on the bench. Yes, and I think that goes to as we've spoken about before, the testament of the recruitment in the summer, that we've now been able to cover losing players, that we've got players. Kelly a few weeks ago is out of the squad entirely, and now he's in the starting 11. So there are players that can shift around, and they're constantly pushing each other to get the best out of each other. Excellent. Well, thanks very much. Those are the lineup, or that is the lineup. Right, I have an interview here, which is Chris Williams talking to John Massigno about Mind.
It's our game where we're working with Mind on Saturday, the mental health. It's been a tough year for everybody. Injured footballers, all footballers, but the fans out there. It's been an unbelievable year, very stressful, hasn't it?
Yeah, like none before, and I think what we were close to a year now of being in this situation, which I don't think we'll ever. I don't think anyone will ever be able to make sense of. And I suppose if we'd sat down this time last year and I told you that we were going to be embarking on some sort of 12-month-long national lockdown, really. Despite knowing the fact that there was this virus going around. So yeah, incredibly tough, but people probably never realised what the sort of ramifications would be of a lack of social contact, a lack of being able to see other people, being stuck in your own home without really being able to get out there and just live your normal life. So hopefully things are getting better, but I think it sort of adds to the importance. Any year charities like mine do unbelievable work, inside and outside of football are incredibly important, and hopefully this just amplifies the need for these sort of organisations to flourish, to get funding, and to keep doing the good work they're doing.
And I'm joined by Gary Bloom. Okay, so you are the club's psychotherapist. That's your title.
That's right. The only psychotherapist working in first team football in the UK.
Excellent. And sort of what led you to go to working in football?
I'd had a long career working in football as a broadcaster, doing a similar job to you're doing now. 25 years commentating and reporting, and then I decided to retrain as a psychotherapist, and decided that I wondered if it was possible, after staying many hours in dressing rooms doing interviews, whether it was possible to make any impact whatsoever at a football club psychologically. Many years later, here I am trying to do just that, and hopefully in my 3 years at the club, we've had some successes.
I should imagine the first year and a half at the club were very different to the most recent year and a half at the club. How much has it changed in this last sort of 14 months during lockdown and all of that stuff?
Well, lockdown has been huge. The effects of the COVID pandemic have been huge on all sport. But we have to look at this slightly wider, and that's why we're doing this interview today, about the effects of lockdown on just about everybody. And the reason I'm sitting here is I've just written a book about called Keeping Your Head in the Game, which is all about sports people, but it has resonances for all of us, no matter who we are, about how we look after ourselves. And hopefully if people read the book, they will see bits in the book where they can draw from their own stories and their own lives about how to maybe just make life slightly easier for themselves, because we all are the authors of our own misfortune at times, and hopefully the book points people in that direction. But the football club, we get all the sort of things that you would expect from a football club: injuries, loss of form, being deselected. Deselection is a really big one. People take it very hard. The stresses and strains of the managers, players coming in, players going out, success on the pitch, off the pitch, internal relationships. It's all been there.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, isn't it? It's not just how you cope when you lose a big match. It is also, you could just be having a hard time at home.
Exactly. And we all do have a hard time at home. And thinking about today's match against Charlton, which is connected with the Mind charity. Mind highlight the aspects of our lives when we are having a tough time. They are the champions of mental health, and Carl and the board here take the it's not just about mental health. I mean, this is the mental health is the mind bit, but actually the bit that we take really seriously, I think more than anybody else, is our player care and how we look after our players here, and not just to look after our players here, but how we look after all the staff at Oxford United Football Club. We take it really seriously, more seriously than just about any football club I've ever come across. And I deal with not only footballers from other football clubs, but also sportsmen and women from outside the game of football. I think Oxford do it better than most.
Excellent. Well, that's very good to hear. In terms of the fact everyone's having a really tough time at the moment, one of the problems with this, in the same way that you can't stay physically fit just by going on a run, you've got to put a load of things in place, and different things work for different people. What are some of the things that might help people through this very difficult time? Well,
when I'm treating people for the sort of things that bring them to me, their own sort of mental health, or they're not feeling happy, depression, anxiety, all the usual things, the first thing I say to them is what I say to people inside this football club: are you looking after yourself? And that means diet, fitness, exercise, making sure that your office closes at a certain time, switch off your mobile phones. Are you sleeping well? Switch off your devices an hour before you go to bed. Looking after yourself. Self-care is a massive piece of being well psychologically. And when we get that right, we often find that things start to improve and we start moving in the right direction. My other part of my job is the back end of that, is looking at why people end up in that position. But the most important thing I can say to people is look after yourself. These are extraordinary times. We've never lived through these before. Lockdown is not a natural human condition. Human beings are naturally sociable animals. We're not allowed to socialise at the moment. That thankfully is coming to the end. And the interesting thing I'll say is that what makes lockdown so hard is the fact that normally in our normal lives, we have little holidays that we look forward to. And what I mean by little holidays, coming here, seeing your favourite football team, going to the restaurant, going to the pub, takeaways, all those sort of things, going to see your mum and dad, going to see the kids, make the stuff normal. All that's been taken away. That creates stresses and strains. So just remember, we are in an unusual time. It is coming to an end, and we want you back here, Oxford United fans, as soon as possible to enjoy what has been still a very successful season.
Yeah, and that sort of leads on to it's coming to an end. Leads on to something I was going to ask. A lot of what you do, including sort of with the footballers, will a lot of that come into its own when they've moved on to pastures new? At the end of their career, you see a lot of footballers, former footballers, struggling. Will they be put in a better place because of what you're doing now?
Well, the simple answer to that is I hope so. But I'm now working with, I know 2 players inside this football club who are thinking about careers in some sort of psychological services. And if that means I've somehow inspired them, either by my work here or by writing a book about it, that's great. I think this is a huge field that's only going to expand. Let me give you, for instance, Manchester United spent over £50 million on Alexis Sanchez, and he couldn't settle at the football club. And he was moved on quite quickly to Arsenal. If that player had been supported after moving to an area of the world he didn't know, with people he didn't know, without his family, without his friends.
Pressures as well, with that price tag.
With that price tag and the pressure of having to produce, why don't we support our players? And that's why I hope I'm the first sports psychotherapist in British football, but my goodness, I'm determined not to be the last.
I was talking to my wife about the fact that I was going to be speaking to you today. In Carl Robinson's interview on iFollow, he talks about the fact there are no openly gay footballers, and that will be weighing on some people's minds. In the future, do you think we're going to live in that much of a more open time that we'll be shocked at the fact that is a stat today?
I think the answer to that is undoubtedly yes. But if I'm honest, and this is where we nuance this, it's not straightforward. If I worked with a player who came to me today and said, look, I am gay, should I come out? I'm not sure the answer to that is yes, you should. It would have to be, you have to understand what's coming. Are you prepared for the welter of abuse that would inevitably come the player's way? And let's be realistic about it. From the fans, I think the club itself would be hugely supportive. But where would away fans be supportive? Would the media be supportive? I mean, the joke is that it just needs the first one through the door, and everybody else after that isn't a story. Just like the first psychotherapist through the door is a story. Everybody else isn't one. So, yes, I think we will look back at this time, not just about issues around sexuality, but how we treat our players. And I think, personally, football's worse than most. I can think of worse industries in sport, but football is not one of the best by any stretch of the imagination. There are other team sports who are doing this better, and it's about time other clubs, other than Oxford United, picked up the baton. Yeah,
absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So before I let you get on with your day, what is your day-to-day activity? Are you in training? Do you talk to the coaching staff about what they can do to improve mental health? What's your normal day-to-day job?
Well, it's changed a lot during COVID because of the excellent COVID protocols that we have here at the football club. I'm not allowed at the training ground, and I'm not allowed down inside the dressing room area just yet. That's all come to an end. I'm not at the moment, and therefore my contact with the players and coaching staff is through telephone calls and Zoom calls and so on and so forth. So it's 2 very different jobs, but in some ways, I think maybe I've been more effective because I'm not hanging around the canteen and people might be embarrassed talking to me. I'm ringing players up directly and having those phone calls. And there's 2 or 3 players who I've been working with specifically, who are playing today, who have just tweaked their games a little bit to hopefully get them to the first team. Normally, I'd be in the dressing room at 5 to 3. I'd be at the training ground. But the other big piece of work, which nobody thankfulully sees, and I always feel like I'm a bit like a referee. If nobody sees that you're refereeing, you've probably done a good job. A lot of the stuff is hidden and out the way, A, because it's confidential, but B, I'm looking at the system. The system is the client I'm also working with. Oxford United Club are my client. The players aren't necessarily my client. And therefore, if I see something at this football club that isn't quite right, and we could improve it, change it slightly in a way that would actually make us more successful, behind the scenes, I will try and make those changes, speaking to the right people and say, if we did that rather than that, what would happen? Do you think we'd be a bit happier as a football club? And quite simply, one of my go-to phrases is any organisation, Oxford United, Oxford University, whoever you are, any organisation is only ever as good as the relationships you have inside it. And that's why my job is to create better relationships inside this organisation.
Yeah, and there will be issues. You being in will not stop there being any issues, but it will help us overcome them.
Well, I'd like to think I see them very early. It's preventative rather than curative. And I think that's a really important part. Sometimes when the building's on fire, it's too late. It's better to install fire alarms. And
in the same way, a physio would notice a muscle tear earlier, or a health and safety officer would notice a fire hazard.
And that's why I'm here, to make sure that we do look after our players and our staff and everybody associated with this football club, and everybody from under nines upwards, because my work remit is also with the academy, to make sure that we are right on top of some of these issues and the reporting of those issues is clear and concise.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining. We do have another interview which we'll just go to right now with Chris Short.
So Perform Better, explain their relationship with Oxford United.
Well, I've worked with Perform Better, Chris, for many years, throughout my sort of career in sports science and at other clubs, and since I've been at Oxford as well. It's the company that you go to provide all your equipment for performance and conditioning, and they've come along again, and with the support from the board and the club, we've managed to improve the facility, and they're a great company. They deliver good products, they deliver on time, and they are the company that I will always go to. Yeah.
So we have brilliant facilities. The training ground itself is great, the pitches are great, the gym as an area is great. What is the equipment that Perform Better have supplied for us?
Well, this year, if you look to your right hand side, we've got kettlebells and dumbbells for strength work. We've got a Kaiser squat machine, which is a very functional piece of equipment that we can measure power and strength bilaterally, unilaterally as well, so single leg and both legs. Behind us, we got the bike. So with this nature of the season being very, very congested, the recovery is vitally important. So we use the bikes as well. The screens put on so the players can have a stimulus from the screen. So it works well. We are still trying to improve it, and hopefully we will do. But it's certainly a big improvement for us.
Explain this season. You've been in football a long time, as you said. This season is unlike any other, with COVID restrictions and numbers in areas and stuff. Is it smaller groups working for smaller times, or how does it work?
Yeah, in some ways, Chris, it's helped because we've had to do the small groups through Amy and all the things that she's put in place for the COVID situations. We've taken it very, very seriously, and I think as a club we've probably gone on above what most clubs have done. And as a result, the testing has been largely very, very positive, or very negative, how you look at it. So we've been really mindful of that, but the groups have been small, and when you have smaller groups, you can actually concentrate and probably get a little bit more quality out of the players. So that's been very, very beneficial, but it's been a very difficult season for us and for all clubs involved because of what you just said.
And exactly, looking at the branding that you're leaning on it and that's around the place, it's important. This is where the hard work comes in. People see the people on the pitch on a Saturday. This is their home, this is where they do the work. It's important they feel at home.
Yeah, I mean, since I walked through the building, when I did, the club has really developed, off the field, certainly in the facility we're standing in here, the training pitches, and like you say, when you're a player, you spend a very small part of your time at the stadium. Most of your time is spent here, so it has to be a good environment, and it certainly is that, and we're very, very lucky. Players come in here from other clubs, and they're impressed, and it's been a good environment to work in.
And I'm now joined by club historian Martin Brodetsky. Hello, Martin.
Hello.
Right, okay. I overran with the psychotherapist, so I'm sorry. I'm going to have to be quick with this one. How are we against Charlton Athletic?
Overall, as you can see, not brilliant. They've got the upper hand on us. I think our first meeting was 1968. However, that's total. At home, the record is 8-8, so much more even at home.
Okay. But as we said last week, all of that goes out the window, as does this, which is the form at the moment. So I think whoever does this form stuff has made the draws look very much like losses. So
And the white text on yellow background doesn't really work either.
I'll leave you to forward that one on. So sort of similar in terms of goals in the last 5, but we've got an extra couple of points. When you look at the teams that we've faced, I think I don't know who they've played, but we've definitely had a tough run of things.
Yeah, although they've got a very good away record apparently, so that
can end today as well.
Let's hope so. Yes.
Right. Okay. Let's play. Played for both.
Right.
I have 2 names written down.
I'm sure you do.
So Tommy Caton.
Yes.
And Ahmed Kashi both played for both clubs.
They did.
Who played more times for Charlton Athletic?
Oh, I know Kashi played quite a way. I think Ahmed Kashi. I think he played more than.
He played 45 times. Tommy Caton was 57.
Oh, really?
So slightly more. But I think that Kashi was probably suspended for about a season and a half.
I should think so at least.
Yes. Who else has played for both?
A number of players, obviously. Matty Elliott springs to mind. Sean Reck. Obviously Tariq Fosu and Jake Forster-Caskey, who makes his 100th appearance for Charlton today.
Yes. Big name for Tuesday's game as well, Forster-Caskey.
Yes.
So a few played for both, including Matty Elliott was definitely the legend when I started watching.
Quite right, yes.
And you've got your programme with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
There you go. How can people get that?
It's still available, although we did a bigger print run, and just as well because it's probably the most pre-ordered programme we've done. But you can still get hold of a copy if you email me on programme@oufc.co.uk. Obviously, it costs £3 plus £2 postage. It's obviously too late now for the pre-orders, so I won't be able to get them sent out until the next time I'm here, which is our next home game against Doncaster a week on Tuesday.
Wow, that was like you'd rehearsed it. That was really good.
I didn't actually, but yeah.
Okay, well, let's not do score predictions. Usually, though, I would talk to Adam or Rosie at this point, talk about the match sponsors, so our MKM Building Supplies.
New branch in Wallingford, I believe.
Yes. And we would also talk about OUFC picks.
Right.
Have you ever done? You're not allowed to.
I'm not allowed to.
The club.
No, I'd lose anyway. I'm hoping those sorts of things.
You're good with history, not good with future.
Not good with anything else.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining, and you've sped through everything and helped me catch up with time.
You're cool.
So, as you are the club historian, let's look at last time we played Charlton at home.
Okay.
And I'm joined by Liam Potter, who is, you've purposefully gone away from the shooting practice.
I'm not too far away, but they've already finished. They're going through their final preparations right now before they head in. So you must have had a lovely chat with Gary Bloom. I think you might have overrun that.
Yes, yeah, we overrun quite a lot. It's such a fascinating subject, and it's not talked about enough.
Absolutely, yeah. I think whenever we have a conversation about it, it can only bring about positive conversations. And I think, you know, breaking that boundary and the stigma of not talking about it is only positive for everybody involved.
Yeah, and it's something that it affects absolutely everyone, but such a large percentage are a similar demographic to a lot of football fans. So talking about it on this platform is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, you look at rates of perhaps suicide, and it's particularly men under the age of 40 or around the age of 40 as well. So obviously football still is a very male-dominated sport. And, you know, just having that conversation around that, if it helps one person, then it's certainly the right thing to do.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Looking onto the match itself, what are the conditions like down there? It looks really sunny, but is it as cold as I imagine it is?
It's a bit chilly over this side, but over in that sunny side, it's absolutely lovely. The pitch had the sprinklers on it for the first time in a while today, so that was nice to see. And yeah, it kind of feels like a very March spring game to me.
Excellent. So you've got to go and film the moments that fans miss. Hopefully they'll be back soon, and we can't wait for that. You're responsible for goal cam, aren't you?
Yeah. So I've got to go and dash and set that up quickly before we've got a couple of things to do. So yeah, going to make a quick dash now and set up goal cam, get ready for pre-match, and then ready to go.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for joining. And I'm now going to play an interview you've done with Jack Stevens. Thanks very much.
Jack, we're at the spot where you made that incredible save against Peterborough. What was going through your mind in that moment?
I was aware that there was maybe just a corner kick to take, and then he would probably blow the whistle after that. So I was just trying to keep concentration levels and try and claim the cross if I could, if it was there for me. But it was a good ball into the near post, and he flicked it on, and luckily I was in the right position to make the save.
In terms of your positioning, is that a case of right place, right time, or do you look to be in that place?
I think so. When I saw it was getting whipped into the near post, I tried to get myself into a position where I could maybe affect it from the flick, sort of this near post area. Thankfully I was in the right position.
You made a very good save in the same spot on your debut against Charlton as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
You must like this end.
That was a nice one as well, because obviously that was my debut, and it was a good moment in the game. We went on to win the game as well, so that was a nice one as well. Obviously I came on due to a red card actually, and it was sort of one where I just had to stay calm. It was nearly a sellout here, and just come on and do as well as I can and try and hold on for the win, and we did that in the end.
You're adjusting to life as first choice goalkeeper at the moment. How are you finding that challenge?
Yeah, good. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying having games twice a week, and I'm learning every game, and every game's a different challenge, and I'm just looking forward to the next one, and just keep pushing and keep improving. We've been together for a while now, me, Eastie and Brownie, so we get on well off the pitch, and we push each other as well when we're training, and it's a really tight-knit group.
And in those moments when you make those saves or those penalty saves, they're the loudest on the bench, aren't they?
Of course. Yeah, of course. I'm the same. If Eastie's playing and he makes a good save, I'm first to stand up and clap. So, it's good to have a good group of goalkeepers here, and we look after each other.
Okay, the players are back in the dressing room, waiting to come out to face Charlton Athletic. Chris Williams is ready to write the match report. Kath now will be on Instagram. Martin Brodetsky is his name, and I completely forgot it, but he is doing the club Twitter account, and Liam Potter will be doing the moments that you missed, filming those around the ground. Thanks very much for watching, and I'm going to leave you with the absolute legend, Mickey Lewis.